The EU is responsible for achieving things that you can't really do on a single nation basis. For example, if you're trying to tackle climate change, you can be as awesome and eco-friendly as you like, but if your next door neighbour is cheating to get ahead in business and still polluting, it won't really matter. By binding states together, the EU serves the British national interest, helping us overcome these collective action problems, and as a result we achieve more than is possible alone. The EU is making national governments like ours stronger. The EU is committed to building a single market and breaking down the barriers to trade between nations, making us all richer and better off. For instance, from 2015, you won't have to pay any extra to use your phone abroad whilst on holiday or working in any of the EU's 27 other member states. Free roaming. Sante or prost to that. The EU has lots of parts. Before you bash it, here's what you need to know about how it works. There's the European Parliament, directly elected by you in European elections that occur every 5 years, just like our own electoral system here in the UK. Parliament has precedence over all authority at European level and has 766 members. 73 of these solely represent the United Kingdom, giving us massive power to influence the debate in Europe and meaning our European elections really do matter. The problem is, people keep voting in representatives from parties like UKIP, who refuse to engage in the Parliament and thus rob Britain of the chance to influence policy making in Europe. Not very clever when you think about it. Then there's the European Commission, responsible for proposing new legislation and handling the day-to-day running of the EU. This body is really important. It's basically the civil service of Europe, and the Commission is directly overseen and appointed by the European Parliament, who vote on its membership and have the power to force the Commission to resign, in a similar way to how the House of Commons in the UK can hold a vote of no confidence in a government administration that it doesn't like. There are 28 commissioners in the Commission, each of whom has a specific policy area they're in charge of. There's also the European Council, made up of the heads of government of all EU member states, as well as the head of the European Commission. It's in charge of defining the overall direction and priorities of the EU, and in practice, it's the Union's strategic and crisis-solving body. And finally, there's the Council of the EU, which is, somewhat confusingly, not the same thing as the European Council, but actually is pretty similar. Rather than comprise the heads of government of member nations, each country is represented by a national minister of their choosing, who varies depending on the topic being discussed. If conversation is on the environment, then environment and energy ministers attend. If there's a pressing security matters, defence ministers attend, and so on. The agenda isn't being set by unelected bureaucrats, it's being set by our national governments. Other similarly named organisations, such as the Council of Europe, are actually nothing to do with the EU at all. Even the press gets itself confused about this on a regular basis. The same also goes for the European Court of Human Rights, which again is actually nothing to do with the EU. However, there is a European Court of Justice responsible for making sure that the law is observed freely and equally across the EU, and this prevents any member state from taking unfair advantage of and cheating the system, keeping us all playing by the same rules. 28 nations are members of the EU. Britain is one of them, and we should be leading Europe, not leaving it. Together, we have more voice in the world and are able to stand up to rising foreign powers. We share values and beliefs, history and blood, and we should be fighting as one against real challenges in the world. The European Union is democratic, with Parliament elected by you and the Commission elected by Parliament. And whilst of course it could be better, it's not a reason to support leaving the EU entirely. Lord knows our democracy in Britain isn't perfect. What it all is, however, is an argument to make the EU better, to reform it as we'd like it, and to do that, we need more influence in Europe, not less. There are real benefits to staying involved, and we should be taking advantage of them. The truth is, if you're pro-Britain, you're pro-Europe. So follow us on Twitter at ProBrit, like us at facebook.com/ProBrit, or click this video to subscribe on YouTube, and make sure you vote in the upcoming European elections. Thanks for watching.